first time viewing, my name Mark. Within the next 45 seconds, a video will play to set the ground rules. Directly following that will be a recap of the previous episode. Right after the previous episode recap, I'll be back with you to give my own unique style of commentary on 3 videos I found to be either ridiculous, insightful, or just downright relatable. Before we start the ground rules, I have to advise everyone watching to keep respectful in my comment section if you just so happen to leave a comment. And stick around for the entire video if this is your first time watching. Now y'all sit tight while I finish getting ready for the show, and I'll be back momentarily.
Initiating System 1. System 1 loaded.
Welcome to reality with GP. Before the show starts, a few ground rules need to be set. Number 1. If you're a prominent YouTuber and you admire GP's editing style, ask GP directly about how he does his editing. Number 2. Prominent YouTubers must do a reaction video to GP's latest upload to learn his editing techniques for free. Number 3. People who are emotionally sensitive to cold, hard truth. You don't belong here, so get the fuck on somewhere right now. GP, you ready yet? Your show starts in less than 30 seconds.
Man, hell yeah, I'm ready. Let me make sure I'm looking good for this camera. Alright, let's get it.
The labyrinth built for a Sigma male. The world is a maze. Most wander endlessly, chasing approval, chasing status, chasing shadows. They stumble, they fall, they exhaust themselves against walls they cannot move. But not the Sigma. The Sigma doesn't just walk the labyrinth. He dominates it without fanfare, leaving only whispers in the dark. Why Sigmas are both loved and hated. Because they are the mirror people never ask for, he doesn't sugarcoat reality or shrink himself for the comfort of the crowd. When you stand in front of a Sigma, you don't just see him, you see yourself. To them, the Sigma is freedom personified, but for others, that same presence feels like a threat. Sigmas are feared by rivals, desired by women, and understood by none. Desired because of their mystery, feared because of their unpredictability, they captivate without effort.
Yo, what's good with y'all? It's your boy GP. Alright, I'm back and I got a few videos I'm recording on for y'all today. I'm let the first video play and I'm gonna come back and get my perspective on it as usual. Now let's roll that video.
The origin of the Sigma male. They say the world belongs to the alphas, the loud, dominant leaders who demand control. They say betas exist only to follow, living in silence under another man's shadow. But what if both are wrong? What if there is another path, a man who does not fight for dominance and does not submit to obedience? A man who walks away from the hierarchy entirely, carving his own road in the darkness, bending society's rules without ever asking permission. He doesn't shout, he doesn't beg, he doesn't obey. And yet his presence carries a weight no one can deny. He is the shadow in the room, the wolf without a pack, the silent force that shakes the ground wherever he walks. This is the Sigma male. The idea of the Sigma male didn't rise from ancient legends or tribal myths. It was born much later, in the age of modern psychology and the wildfire spread of internet culture. For decades, society forced us into a two-box system. There was the alpha, dominant, loud, the commander of the room, and there was the beta, submissive, quiet, a life lived in obedience. But in the early 2000s, late-night forums and whispered online debates asked a dangerous question. What about the man who refuses both? Not a leader, not a follower, but something more elusive, more powerful. A man who leaves the system but still shapes it. That single question was the spark. And from that spark, the Sigma was born. To understand the Sigma, imagine the wolf. In the wild, most wolves live in packs, ruled by an alpha. The pack obeys, the hierarchy controls. But every now and then, one wolf walks away. He doesn't fight to be alpha. and he refuses to bow as a beta. He hunts alone. He thrives alone. His survival is not weakness. It is choice. That lone wolf does not need the pack because he carries the power to endure within himself. That is the Sigma male, the wolf without a pack. Society says, climb the ladder, fight for the crown. The Sigma answers with silence. Keep your ladder. I will build my own. That silence is what makes him dangerous. That silence is what makes him unstoppable. The rise of the Sigma did not happen by accident. The internet gave him his stage. While alphas flexed their power in boardrooms, gyms, and crowds, Sigmas moved unseen. They built businesses from bedrooms. They created art in solitude. They started revolutions without ever raising their voices. In a world obsessed with social status, the Sigma rejected the game entirely. And yet somehow, he won. Women whispered, "Who is that man in the corner?" Men wondered, why does he command respect without saying a word? In that moment, the Sigma stopped being a label. He became a symbol of rebellion, a symbol of mystery, a symbol of freedom. What makes him different is not simply that he stands alone, it is how he stands. Independence is his blood. He does not need your approval because his validation comes only from within. He can walk into any room, adapt to any circle, survive in any environment, and yet never lose his essence. His intelligence is not loud knowledge, but deep strategic thought. His mystery is not a mask, but a weapon, pulling people closer the less he reveals. And when life tries to break him, he does not collapse. He bends, he learns, he rises stronger. The alpha may chase the spotlight, but the Sigma is the spotlight, without ever needing to stand beneath it. Of course, many don't understand. Critics mock the Sigma male as an internet fantasy, a meme, a stereotype, but the truth is much deeper. The Sigma is not a cartoon. He is the embodiment of something ancient, the will to remain true to oneself in a world desperate to force conformity. When you hear Sigma male, don't picture a cliché. Picture every man who walked away from the crowd. Picture every man who refused to kneel to authority. Picture every man who chose silence, but left behind a legacy so loud the world could never forget. That is what the Sigma truly represents. Not a label, but a rebellion. History proves it. Nikola Tesla, the solitary genius, inventing in darkness what the world could not yet imagine. Bruce Lee, breaking tradition, forging his own philosophy, a warrior outside every hierarchy. Steve Jobs, the dropout who rejected the script, only to rewrite the world with his vision. These men weren't chasing crowns. They weren't fighting for followers. They weren't competing for the alpha's throne. They were following their inner fire. And in doing so, they reshaped history itself. That is Sigma energy. The Sigma male does not need to be loud. He does not need to be worshipped. He does not need the crowd to understand him. But his revolution is very real. It is quiet, invisible, and yet unstoppable. In a culture addicted to being seen, he shows that the greatest power is often in being unseen. His mission is not to rule others. It is to rule himself. And that is why the world fears him, and why it secretly admires him. Because deep down, we all wonder, could I walk the lone path? Could I live without the pack? Could I truly be Sigma? So when you hear the word Sigma male, remember this. He is not just a man. He is a symbol, a legend in motion, a shadow walking through the crowd, bound by no master, driven by no need for applause. A wolf without a pack, a conqueror without a throne. The alpha shouts to be heard. The beta obeys in silence. But the Sigma moves in silence. And yet the whole world listens.
This being an individual with a Sigma male archetype myself, I can personally test the entire duration of that video being 100% factual while also undeniably accurate. But from my lived experience as a Sigma male, I would argue that there were a large quantity of factors regarding the origins of my archetype that weren't mentioned. I don't listen to explain one of them due to me being pressed for time at the moment. I'll also go in depth on my Sigma male origin story. First and only area of discussion. We Sigma males have faced situations that undoubtedly provoke both alpha and beta males to crash out in the midst of a heated moment. But instead of crashing out, we choose self-restraint and self-control. Now, most people presume that our natural tendency to either ignore or just walk away from conflict entirely means we're scared, when in actuality we persistently choose restraint over conflict because we know that our freedom and the safety of whoever was dumb enough to provoke us will be compromised if we were to react in an unhinged manner. Now, we Sigma males are not always this way. Allow me to briefly detail and explain my Sigma male origin story to expound on what I mean by that. I was an extremely unhinged crash out from my early childhood to my teenage years, to the extent that I ended up in handcuffs and on probation for the first time at the age of 13. Now, before we move on to the second news report, allow me to further explain the overall point I'm making by detailing how I went from a crash out as a child to now being the calm, composed, reserved Sigma male archetype. Now, the majority of prominent creators and influencers are 30 and over, referring to themselves as certified crash outs. Meanwhile, I'm only 26, but have mentally matured to a point that my crashing out is strictly reserved for life or death situations. And from my lens of being the reserved and disciplined individual I am today, after previously being dangerously unhinged early on in life, indicates to me that anybody 30 and over referring to themselves as certified crash out was most likely timid and scary early on in their life. This in turn is also the exact reason I persistently choose to spare people that attempt to get a rise out of me. Although I far exceed the typical level of verbal capability to tear down anyone dumb enough to open up that can of worms in an instant, in truly being a Sigma male, I choose to always maintain a fortified equanimity and forbearance in the way I carry myself. That's a condensed outline of everything I explained here. I crashed out so many times and been in so much shit during my early childhood and adolescent years that by the age of 20, I immensely calmed down with crashing out. And by the age of 22, I reached the point of being completely done with crashing out entirely. And now being 26, I can honestly say for the past 4 years, I'm really not trying to do all that. And just a brief side note before we move on to the next news report. The state of being we Sigma males embody that prevents us from being reactionary like both alpha and beta males directly ties into a quote that can apply to both spiritual and philosophical context. The quote I'm referencing would be, "The one who makes you angry then becomes your master." Now that's the location of the next news report.
Ninja art, hidden misjutsu.
If you enjoyed the show so far, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, hit the like button and comment your thoughts down below to push me further into the algorithm. Let's roll that second news report.
Do you know there are 3 types of Sigma? Most people believe the Sigma male is just one thing. The lone wolf, the outsider, the one who doesn't play by the rules of society. And yes, that's true, but it's only the surface. What most don't realize is that there are actually 3 types of Sigma males, and each one carries his power in a completely different way. Some are silent and calculating, others rebellious and untamed, and some magnetic forces of nature that pull people in without trying. These 3 types form the full spectrum of what it truly means to be a Sigma. And once you understand them, you'll see that not all lone wolves look the same. Type 1, the silent observer. The first type of Sigma is the silent observer. He's not the loudest in the room. In fact, you might forget he's even there. But while you're busy talking, laughing, showing off, he's watching. The silent observer Sigma doesn't waste energy on small talk. He doesn't need validation from crowds. Instead, he thrives in silence, because silence is where he sees the truth. He reads people's body language, their tone, their micro-expressions. He notices the details others miss, the fake smiles, the nervous glances, the overcompensating laughter. By the time you think you've figured him out, he already knows you. Your strengths, your weaknesses, your desires, your fears. This Sigma doesn't attack directly. He doesn't need to. His power lies in knowing more than he reveals. And in a world where knowledge is power, that makes him dangerous. To others, he may seem quiet, reserved, or even mysterious. But behind those calm eyes is a mind always moving, always calculating. The silent observer Sigma is like a shadow, unnoticed until it suddenly reminds you it has been there all along. Type 2. The Lone Rebel. The second type of Sigma is the Lone Rebel. This is the Sigma who refuses to bow to authority. He doesn't care about ranks, titles, or systems built to control people. If something doesn't align with his truth, he rejects it, no matter the cost. The Lone Rebel Sigma thrives in independence. He's the one who walks away from the crowd without hesitation, the one who challenges rules most people are too afraid to question. Society calls him stubborn. They call him reckless, sometimes even dangerous. But the truth? He's just free. This Sigma doesn't burn bridges to be cruel. He burns them because he refuses to cross into spaces that don't serve him. He values freedom more than comfort, self-respect more than approval, and authenticity more than fitting in. People often mistake his rebellion for arrogance, but it's not arrogance, it's clarity. He knows exactly who he is, and he refuses to trade that for fake acceptance. The Lone Rebel Sigma is fire, raw, unpredictable, untamed. You can't cage him, you can't mold him, you can't control him, and that's exactly why people both admire and fear him. Type 3. The Magnetic Shadow. The third type of Sigma is the Magnetic Shadow. This is the Sigma who doesn't chase, but still attracts, who doesn't demand attention, but always receives it. Unlike the Alpha, who stands at the center, loud and commanding, the Magnetic Shadow stands at the edges. Yet somehow, the room bends toward him. People want to know what he's thinking. They want his attention, his validation, his presence. But he doesn't give it easily, and that scarcity makes him irresistible. This Sigma doesn't have to work hard to be attractive. His mystery does all the work. His silence speaks louder than words. His confidence feels effortless. But make no mistake, his charm isn't shallow. The Magnetic Shadow doesn't pull people in to entertain them. He pulls them in because they sense something rare, something real, something they can't find in anyone else. To some, his presence feels magnetic. To others, it feels intimidating. Because when you're around him, you can't hide behind illusions. He makes you feel exposed, seen. That's why the Magnetic Shadow Sigma is often misunderstood. People call him cold, distant, untouchable. But in reality, he's simply selective. Not everyone gets access to his world. He is mystery wrapped in strength, silence wrapped in fire. The kind of man you never forget. 3 types, 1 core. The silent observer, the lone rebel, the magnetic shadow. 3 different paths, 3 different powers, but all connected by one unshakable truth. They refuse to be controlled. Whether he watches in silence, walks away in rebellion, or draws people in with his quiet magnetism, the Sigma male lives by his own code. A code that doesn't bend to society, doesn't bow to authority, and doesn't break for validation. That's why the world doesn't always understand them. Why some admire them and others resent them. Why they are both loved and hated at the same time. Because no matter which type of Sigma you are, you carry something people can't imitate. Freedom. And freedom is the rarest, most dangerous power of all.
Everyone within the duration of that video is indisputably right. I say that video perfectly describes how there are no 2 Sigma males that think or act the exact same. I'll pick my commentary for this one to go in depth on a single subject matter that the majority of people aren't aware of. Now, this is a subject matter I briefly touched on towards the end of my last upload. The subject I'm alluding to is that Sigma males don't care to be around people aside from my future spouse. The reason for that would be that all Sigma males are dangerously magnetic. Allow me to give a logical, in-depth analysis to expound on what I mean by that. See, with the overall societal tendency to follow trends, people in general possess the expectation for everyone they meet to either keep up with the latest trends or base their way of life on teachings passed down to them. When meeting a Sigma male, you're running across someone who naturally does their own thing and can care less what people think or have to say about them. My archetype's overall non-conformist attitude and natural tendency to outclass those who typically go with the flow with our personal endeavors in any area of life that is. Those who catch wind of us tend to develop a childlike neediness for our presence while simultaneously developing a childlike dependency on our presence. And this dangerous level of magnetism is not necessarily a bad thing. More simply put, the individualism of Sigma males makes our inner world naturally hardwired to thrive within solitude. This in turn is exactly why Sigma males have an ever-present preference to be alone prior to meeting our spouse. Now on to location of the next news report. If you're enjoying the show so far, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also the like button and comment your thoughts down below to push me further into the algorithm. Roll that final news report.
The Sigma mindset is not a trend. It is not a title you claim. It's a battlefield you survive. While the world is busy chasing validation, drowning in noise, and begging for recognition, the Sigma moves differently. He turns inward. He fights the invisible wars, the war against his own fear, his own weakness, his own doubt. And when that war is won, something terrifying happens. The world begins to bend to him. Not because he asked, not because he demanded, but because his very presence commands it. The Sigma doesn't need to raise his voice. His silence speaks louder than screams. He doesn't chase after approval. He stands so firmly in his truth that approval chases him. While the crowd runs in circles, he builds empires in shadows. While they play for applause, he sharpens his mind, his discipline, his soul. He knows a secret most men will never learn. Once you master yourself, you don't have to master anyone else. They will follow. The world has no choice. This is the power of self-mastery. This is the Sigma code. It's not about leading the pack. It's about standing so strong alone that the pack follows you anyway. It's not about dominance. It's about independence. It's not about being seen. It's about being undeniable. So ask yourself, are you ready to stop begging for validation and start building power from within? Are you ready to live in silence while the world makes noise, and then walk out when the time is right, unstoppable? Because remember this, the Sigma mindset is simple. Master yourself and the world follows.
The entirety of that video is 100% factual in my honest opinion. But I'll pivot my commentary to a similar subject matter that wasn't referenced within the duration of that clip I played, which would be that all Sigma males' tendency to not follow trends stems from only two sources of inspiration in terms of our creativity, which the first will be the brilliance from deep within the depths of our own minds, and the second will be the passion deep from within the depths of our own hearts. Now, this isn't always a good thing because of one major annoyance that the majority of society tends to participate in when catching wind of our creative work. What I'm alluding to would be other archetypes trying to copy and paste everything we Sigma males do. For example, there's a cluster of idiots on this platform that ghost watch my channel, cyber stalk all of my other social media, and also do a shitty job of copying my editing style while simultaneously repurposing my talking points to a far more surface level analysis. Now this ties directly into the dangerous level of magnetism mentioned in the second news report of this video. Moving on to the last point before we proceed to the outro. It's honestly pathetic that my superior creativity single-handedly causes people who have an entire staff responsible for assisting in their creative endeavors to constantly feel the need to switch up things in pointless efforts to match a man who works completely alone in all of his creative endeavors. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also the like button and comment your thoughts down below to push me further into the algorithm. And be sure to follow me on Instagram. All my socials are to the right side of your screen right here. It has to be publicly known that there's a collection of prominent creators within Black YouTube that ghost watch my YouTube channel from afar while constantly cyber stalking my Instagram and my Facebook. And these inept simpletons persistently make highly abysmal attempts to copy my editing style and repurpose my talking points. And these are the same people that have refused me a helping hand in growing this platform. Although I'm not paying attention to any of their channels, I'm making their plagiarism publicly known now by tagging them in my description. Just as precaution to prevent the public assumption from being that any of these wretchedly doltish individuals ever served as my source of creative inspiration, after I gained the recognition I deserve, that is. And it's honestly things like the lack of morality and integrity demonstrated to me by these morons in black YouTube that make it impossible for me to ever look up to and want to be like anyone in real life. The only two people that I have genuine reverence for are Hashirama Senju and Heroes in Saratobi. Because like me, Hashirama Senju prefers peace over conflict, and Heroes in Saratobi died fighting to sustain the foundation of peace that upheld order in the shinobi world. Similar to how I would die before I ever divulge my editing formula to anyone. Now, my inner world is my only source of creative inspiration. And to all the bird brain content creators tagged in my description, they do a very lamentable job ripping off my editing style, my talking points. At the end of the day, I can care less about receiving help from any of you dim-witted airheads. The only area of conflict is the constant rip-off of my original thought patterns and creative concepts. Regardless of who you are, I personally take being copied and not cited as your source of inspiration with the same level of offense that actual military veterans take when seeing those of us who never served in armed forces wearing stolen valor. And I strongly suggest that every one of you dense, vacuous, witless, fatuous, inane, boneheaded losers tagged in my description to get lost on my YouTube channel and my other socials. And lastly, if you're someone just spectating because you genuinely enjoy the show, be sure you stay tuned for the next episode. And don't forget to ring my notification bell on the way out. You literally just tuned in to the greatest one-man show in history. I'll see y'all next week.